But a lot of the programs that we do are based out in the community. Our mission is that we connect people with nature, and we do that in a variety of ways. We lead the Montana Master Naturalist program for the state of Montana. We run the Visiting Naturalist in the Schools program. This is one of our biggest, our flagship program that puts staff naturalists like these lovely folks into 4th and 5th grade classrooms all around western Montana. We have workshops and evening programs and lectures and classes and walks out, nature walks. So we have a bunch of ways to kind of get people excited about connecting with nature and the outdoors. And if you are new here and you haven't seen our magazine yet, I would invite you to grab a copy on your way out, and you can learn a bit more about what we do and the kind of things that we get excited about here. And one of those things is open air. We're always excited to have our resident artist in the space for a few weeks. And it's been really lovely having Sage here. I'm looking forward to hearing about his process and the kind of work that he does. So thanks to all of you for coming here to support us and to see what we do here.
So Sage Friss is a Missoula-based artist with a focus on surrealism. He grew up in the mountains of Colorado and Montana and has always enjoyed interacting with nature. Their work portrays animals in a variety of imagined realities. Their most widely known pieces feature giant-sized house cats destroying cities and buildings. Sage continually expands their subject matter and the sense of realism and wonder in their practice. So, welcome everyone, Sage.
How's it going? This is on.
Yep. Right.
Hello.
There you go.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming to the talk here. So yeah, it's been really good to be in the Montana Natural History Center around all these great people that have been here. I'll start with talking about my background a little bit. I grew up in Colorado, drawing and reading a lot as a kid. I drew pretty typical kid stuff, like wizard fights, groups of birds and dinosaurs, and kind of similar stuff to what I do now, just on a like a much worse level. I spent a lot of time outside just watching bugs. I've always enjoyed that, and birds and just things in general, but I think it's really fun to just find a group of ants and, like watch them do their thing for a while, figure out where they're going. So yeah, I was pretty independent. In middle school, I moved from Colorado to Montana, which was a big change for me. Lived with my mom in Colorado, moved in with my dad in Libby, Montana. But it was a hard transition, but it was really nice, like being around so much more national forest land than in Colorado. You have to drive a pretty long ways from a lot of locations to get to like an actual forest, versus just having it in my backyard. And after high school, I started firefighting, which was like a really good way to connect more with the national forest land. I got to spend a lot of time outdoors and just much closer to nature, like all the time than I had been before. Really cool opportunity to watch bugs for sure. And yeah, there's a bug that I've only seen firefighting. It's called a horntail wasp. You've maybe seen them before. They're like a pretty long wasp with a big, like, it looks like a stinger coming out of their butt, but it's actually for laying their eggs in trees. So like they can't sting at all, but they look ferocious, and people on the fire crew would make up stories about like people getting stung by them. They don't have a stinger, so it's impossible. This might be kind of crass, but they're colloquially. Never mind, sorry. Yeah, after like 3 years of firefighting, I was kind of starting to take drawing more seriously again. I'd kind of like fallen out of it after moving from Colorado to Montana. Didn't really take it as seriously. And I designed like a couple shirts for my fire crew. One with like Smokey the Bear, like fighting a man made out of fire. It was really fun. And I started like drawing portraits of my coworkers in the fire truck while we drive. It's really hard to drive in the car. If you just kind of keep your hand like really loose above the paper, you can do it. So yeah, I was getting portraits that like actually looked like people, and it made me just think about it more. And then I drew a tiger in a pretty realistic style on this picture, just a tiger's face, and that really set me off. So this was kind of like the beginning of COVID, and I had a bunch of alone time, and I started kind of watching all the Studio Ghibli films as well, and that really inspired like what became this cat series. I'm like super impressed with those films and the way that they can get like really normal stuff blended with like really fantastical, surreal elements. So I wanted to kind of merge those things. I'm really passionate about getting realism in my work and like the fine details that you see if you look at something for a long time, but also, you know, making somebody like kind of do a double take and being like, what's going on there? It's really fun to me. So yeah, this isn't my first cat picture over here, but this is just one I like a lot. It's the Ichirana bar in town. You've probably seen, but yeah, it's really fun to just get like really small details like pine needles and a bowl of ramen. You can come look at it closer after this if you haven't seen it, but yeah, there's like a bowl of ramen flying out of the window here. And yeah, I like how happy they make people. I wasn't really happy a lot of the time when I was making these. I was really angry. And so I kind of feel like personally I had like kind of the cat frustration or like destructive element in my mind more so than like joyful or funny aspects about them, but I like how they could read like completely different than how I was feeling when I made them. Yeah, some other big influences when I started were other anime. I was watching a lot of anime. I'm a big fan of Naruto, One Piece, and Attack on Titan, a lot of these. Naruto especially. I just think it's really powerful and beautiful art, and there's like a lot of good life lessons for like, any Asian person, so I recommend watching Naruto. Another big influence is my best friend Devin, who also does a lot of art in a kind of similar style. It's a little bit different, but we spend a lot of time like critiquing and showing each other art, and we're kind of like whetstones for each other in a way. Like we both influence and like inspire each other a lot. So it's been really important for my process to have somebody that I can bounce ideas off of like that. He's super skilled. He works as like a construction worker installing solar farms right now. So he's got like not very much time to do art, but he still just makes a lot. It's like, makes me feel like I need to be doing more. It's good. It's like a good balance. MF Doom as a rapper also inspires me a lot. I think that, like listening to music while you're making physical art is really nice, and kind of being able to tap into like what one artist is doing and their creative kind of process is really cool. MF Doom is like a really intricate lyricist who's got just like complicated verbal bars that the more times you listen to the song, you can keep like picking up more and more pieces of it. And that's kind of something I like to try to do with my art too. So he's a big inspiration to me. Yeah, besides that, artists like Salvador Dali has like really amazing surrealism that I'm kind of, hopefully like will be able to get to a place more like that eventually with my art. I think that building my realism up is kind of like what I've been largely focused on in the last couple of years, and being able to like add the surrealism without taking away from the realism has been kind of tricky to me. So I hope to be able to expand on that. James Jean is a really legendary surrealist artist I like a lot as well. MC Escher I liked as a kid, he's got the really complicated architectural kind of designs, and just like tessellations he did always have fascinated me. So yeah, that's kind of like some of the stuff that inspires my art. Yeah, I really want to continue pushing my realism, my surrealism. I like trying to achieve like a balance between two kind of things in my art. Like a lot of these cat pictures, there's kind of a balance between like the destruction that's happening and kind of the sweetness or like innocence of the cat, Kind of, there's like a good contrast there. And so kind of in this picture, with the two tigers, I was trying to contrast like two feelings you might have of being like extremely calm and kind of one with the water, and just like agitating everything around you and being hyper, So it's a little bit like the phrase of it being like the two wolves inside of you, but it's the tigers in the river. So once I moved to Missoula, after firefighting for a few years and going to school in Bozeman, I really picked up on like the community aspects of Missoula, and I don't know, it just feels like really good to walk around downtown here and engage with people. It's like a really friendly place to be, which I never experienced in Bozeman. I don't know if you've been there, but it's like a lot different. It's not as nice. Yeah, I started doing my first Friday shows here, which are not a big thing in Bozeman, and it's like an awesome avenue to get your art out. It gave me like a lot of confidence in my early work for sure. I started doing shows at a place called Fight or Flight Emergency Medical Services, or Emergency Medical Training. Yeah, it's like an EMT course. And the owner of that, Danielle, has been really nice to me. She'll let me come set my art up any first Friday I want. So it's like a really cool place I can go back to. And I've met a ton of cool people there and sold like my first art pieces. So that kind of got like a lot of my energy to like pursue it as a serious thing underway. It's just been like a background thing for a lot of my life, but I'm really like dedicated to like making it my full-time job now. So like around this summer, first summer I was here, I also started going to therapy, which has become a big part of my process too. I think that art can be kind of like cathartic and healing for like a lot of different reasons, and a good way to like pour your emotions out of yourself, put them into something productive. But it can also be like really intentional, you can set a goal with a piece to like achieve a certain purpose. So my therapy is like metacognition based, which is kind of about like understanding your own thought process and making adjustments, once you really understand like how your brain's working. Which like you can't fully understand, but the more you try, you realize that you do have actually a lot of power over the way you're thinking. So this self-portrait was a project that my therapist asked me to do, and it took me like 6 or 7 months to come up with an idea that I really wanted to do for it. And then it took like a really long time as well to get all the reference images I needed for the hands. Like I did it with a real person, like modeling their hands on my face. And it was just like a huge endeavor. It was probably my biggest project last year. It took me forever, but I'm really happy with how it came out. And it was supposed to be a piece that was restructuring like my self-image and trying to draw myself kind of how I wanted to think about myself, I think anyone can struggle with self-image, but I had pretty poor self-image for like quite a few years, so I'm really proud of that piece, and I think it's like a really cool thing that you can use art to kind of achieve goals like that in your own mental health. it's allowed me to put more significance into my work, I think, because a lot of times I felt like self-conscious about maybe not having like very much of a deeper meaning to all of my pieces, but all of them definitely have like a strong personal aspect, even if it's not a social message that I'm trying to put out. Same summer I started going to therapy here. I also started going to life drawing classes, which were like a major help to my realism. I've never been very good at drawing like realistic people. I think it's like one of the hardest things to do realistically. But yeah, it gave me a lot more confidence doing that. Meeting other people, making art in Missoula is really nice. I was able to meet a lot of really special people there. And just get more tied into the community, like beyond just doing First Fridays and like trying to sell stuff. It's cool to like, I want to find more about being communities of people creating stuff casually together. It's really inviting and comforting space too if anyone wants to go work on their life drawing skills. But yeah, it improved my realism a lot, and I feel a lot more comfortable drawing people now. I'm working on like a really big portrait piece right now that I'm excited for, but I want to start getting more people in my artwork. So yeah, combination of like drawing and therapy led to that. The background I kind of think of as like my subconscious thoughts, the black and red like swirliness was kind of I was so tired after like realistically drawing the rest of it that I kind of just freestyled the background, but I really like how it came out. It's kind of like, you don't really know exactly what's going on. It's like your subconscious. You can't really ever quite tell what's happening in there. But, so yeah, this brings us pretty close to like my current time in making art. I applied to open air earlier this year and was extremely stoked to get in. I applied for the Montana Natural History Center because it's like really aligned with a lot of the things I draw, It's cool to have like a reference in real life instead of Googling pictures and like spending forever trying to find, like the right angle of something that you want to draw. Yeah, that's a big part of what I wanted to be here. And I really like just where the town and, what they stand for here, what they do in the community. It's cool like being in here too and, realizing that a lot of what the people that work here do is like outside the community, and this is just like a small piece of it, like Drew was saying. But I get to kind of see like it does have how people come and go all the time. And kids come through and just like run through and they come up and ask me questions about my art while I'm doing it. Like I'd be drawing and a kid would come up and say, "Did you draw this?" And yeah, I've had some really cute conversations with kids and talked to them about what they're drawing, so it's cool to be able to like engage with people like that. It's usually kind of quiet in here too, which is nice. I am used to just being alone a lot working on my art, so it's nice to have that time too. It's like a good balance of back and forth. But yeah, I wanted to be able to capture some of the creatures in here, and I came in like a week before I started and was really just like absorbed by the T-Rex skull. So I spent like a week thinking about it before I started the residency. Kind of came up with that idea for the picture on the end, but even though I didn't actually get to like draw a ton of the stuff in here, it definitely inspired me. Just like even the wall of birds, kind of made me think of the idea of like a bunch of birds having a meeting inside of the skull. Like that would be pretty cool. So yeah, I feel like the place-basedness of it is really cool and made me think about, my ideas for the projects a lot. So yeah, I wanted to be able to utilize what's unique about this spot and kind of do my own thing with it. And I feel like I've been able to do that, and I feel really good about being here. I've been kind of fascinated with dinosaurs for like my whole life. I think that most kids are, but it's kind of magical, to think about how they used to exist, and it feels really good to be able to execute on an idea that, I had as a kid, but never would have been able to come this close to producing. it got me thinking about bird evolution a lot, which is like really fascinating. Birds basically evolved to like their modern form in like 60 million years ago, and in the last like mass extinction, Cretaceous Paleogene, 66 million years ago, all the flying birds died and had to re-evolve again from flightless birds, which is really neat. We basically had almost fully modern birds before that mass extinction event and lost them all. But flight in birds has kind of evolved and gone back to flightless and gone back to flight multiple times over time, which is really neat to me too. You know, now we have penguins, which are like a really cool evolved bird form that it doesn't rely on flight at all. Yeah, so I wanted to celebrate like bird dial, but first in here I've got like the barn owl. This is a honeybee eater. This is I know what it is, that's a pigeon. This is sorry. I had these all memorized, I still do, but I'm getting them now. This is a cormorant. This is a magpie. This is a barn swallow. This is a bird of paradise. That's an osprey. This is an oriole, which I put in here for my grandpa who died last year as one of his favorite birds. He was like a pretty avid bird watcher. This is the sandhill crane, that's like right over there, and king penguin, of course. So yeah, I thought it was cool to be able to get like such a diversity of birds in there and kind of celebrate like what I love about birds and how they're descendants of dinosaurs. Birds didn't come like directly from Tyrannosaurus, but it's like a part of the raptor family that birds did come from. They came from like more velociraptors and evolved into an Archaeopteryx and then into modern birds. So this is what I've been currently working on. It's probably hard to see from where you are, but this is starts my Archaeopteryx and then like a more modern bird, a kestrel, and they're both trying to eat this dragonfly. I want to showcase how good the birds are at flying compared to the Archaeopteryx. Archaeopteryx was like, we don't know for sure, but probably not like a super strong flyer based on the fossil evidence that we have. And I think a really cool part of like doing a piece about the Archaeopteryx is like trying to fill in the knowledge holes or attempt to fill in the knowledge holes of what we know about them. So like we know that they probably could fly. They were like roughly the size of a crow, but we don't know, a ton about like what their actual lifestyle was. We do know that they were probably like eating small insects and basically filling a niche that like birds became better evolved to fill. Another really cool thing I learned doing this research is that I don't know if you know, but insect size over time has been like pretty consistent with the oxygen level in the atmosphere. Like bugs can get a lot bigger if there's more oxygen available to them. 1 second. But basically, when birds evolved, there was really high oxygen levels in the environment, and insect size went like way down at the same time that birds started to evolve to fly really well. So it's theorized that like bird evolution is a major driver in like what made insects size down, because oxygen was still at like a really high level when they started to get pretty small, which I just thought was really neat. I didn't think birds had that much of an impact on it, but yeah, insects are like a lot more maneuverable at small size, so it could have hit birds a lot better, which makes sense. Yeah, so for the rest of the residency, I want to continue exploring this bird evolution theme. This is kind of like, it could be in modern times, and this other piece was in the past, so I'm thinking it might be cool to do sort of like a triptych with a future of bird evolution and kind of like make a speculative evolution picture based on what birds might be in like another 60 million years. So I'm thinking about doing that. Yeah, not really, I don't know, just interested and inspired by birds right now. They're pretty cool creatures. So that's kind of like my rest of the residency plan. I want to do some more research and try to like use this space to the best of my ability. Hopefully like interact with some more of the people that work here and use their knowledge, because that's kind of been a really cool thing about this place that I haven't utilized as much. There's like a ton of super skilled and talented people that work here that have a lot of cool information I could probably learn. So I want to be doing some more of that. I want to focus in the future, maybe in the rest of this residency, on more, environmentalism and kind of cause-based things in my work. Something that like I wanted to do, but have wanted to make sure that I can do it in a non-tacky way, or like, I don't know, feel good about my art enough that it makes, it's maybe just like a insecurity thing that I haven't more, but yeah, I want to get more directly involved in things I care about, social causes with my art. I think would be important for me. It's definitely important for me. I want to work on insects more too. I'm really fascinated by insects and insect evolution, and I love all kinds of insects. I'm obsessed with ants actually. So some kind of ant-based piece soon. I also want to just like keep sizing my work up. Eventually I'd really love to be able to do some murals in town. I think that I've got cool ideas for murals, and it would just be super satisfying to execute. My main medium is these Copic markers, which I love. They're like an alcohol-based marker. It's a Japanese company. They're really nice. They blend really well. And they're just super convenient to use. You don't have like the cleanup process of paint. You can transport them super easily. But I do want to get better with paint, get more comfortable with it, especially for mural drawing. So that's another thing I want to work on. I want to continue working with people, maybe like collaboratively, and just being around people while I'm working. I think feels nice. I end up spending too much time alone when I'm working at art house, so it's good to be here for sure for that reason. And yeah, I'm really appreciative of the space and the people that work here and the people that support me doing this in my life. So definitely come up and look at these if you want. The end's here, and if anybody's got any questions about anything.
I love all your highlighting. It's such a great job with how it illuminates. Did you use that T-Rex at all to like put light and stuff to see where it would like?
I thought about doing that, but there's like motion activated lights in here. I could like never get the light dark enough. I should have just asked to turn the lights on, but I found a picture online of one lit from the inside with a red light that I did reference.
Maybe it's because I'm like a playwright and love text and like the story. Do you know if those birds are delivering why are they mean? Because it looks so hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's in T-Rex's mouth. It has to be.
It is important. I kind of imagined it like an annual summit for like the world bird leaders. And I don't know like exactly what they're talking about right now, but I think the penguin only got invited this year. The honey bee eater is like really upset about it. He's kind of screaming at the penguin, and the rest of the birds are like, "What? What are you doing?" So it's got a little bit of a story on it.
Did you only get invited this year because it took them a whole year to like walk up to the fly up and to walk to the council? So.
Yes, it's much harder to travel.
Yeah.
Can you revisit the oxygen guard insect? 'Cause- so like, did the birds have more access to the oxygen and the insects didn't, or what?
No, so I didn't explain it very well. Oxygen level in the atmosphere is kind of like a limiting factor in maximum like insect size. So like when there's more oxygen, they can get bigger because they breathe just through like little holes in their skin basically. And what's like interesting is that when birds first evolved, oxygen was like at a really high level, higher than it is that bugs can stay like really big, but when birds evolved, they all started to shrink heavily, and so scientists are like, why would the bugs get small, basically? This is not like this is theory based, you know, but yeah, it's like theorized that birds are what caused the insects to shrink instead of the oxygen level at that time.
I was just curious about your interactions with people in here as you're working on things. I know you're kind of in the space of working, and it's just interesting to me, like what interactions between kids or other guests or anything like that. Just
Yeah, I've had fun interactions with kids. They're on field trips, and like, little groups will come and stand behind me and go, whoa. And just kind of talk to each other, and I can listen to them. And sometimes little kids will come up to me and talk, which is nice too, and tell me about what they're drawing. I like hearing that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's really nice to listen to. It's just probably really inspirational. Never know what that'll do for kids coming through.
yeah, I like to imagine. Yeah.
Or just say you need to draw like that. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, that was an amazing detail about the ability to fly re-evolving after extinction. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Thinking about like the volume of air and the volume of water. So creatures evolved to be in water and on land, back and forth. And then with your triptych, I was thinking about like, yeah, that's kind of a known. The kestrel is the known present time, and then the past time, velociraptor or whatever. You know, you can kind of imagine into the future, a future evolution, but like if you place the triptych that you made in the middle and imagine a past unknown extinction event where there was a unique evolution that happened.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting idea too. I can do like two past versions, one before like the last mass extinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating how things have had to like re-evolve so many times.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily mean just because it's old that it needed to be a crude evolution. It could be a uniquely streamlined evolution that was fast.
Totally. Yeah, like the birds were basically fully modernized before the last mass extinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
Do you have an idea of what you think that next phase will be?
No, I actually had the idea like yesterday or today, so I haven't like fully thought about what it could be, but I'm excited to do some experimenting. I did a series of stickers that are all like animal combinations, and I might try to do, I don't know, yeah, maybe birds converge on some other kind of animal's evolution, something like that.
How about will you speak to your relationship with time? The piece that you made while here is seemingly a pretty fast clip for how you normally make, and talking about like using drawing as kind of a therapeutic mechanism. It seems like time is an essential element inside of that. Can you speak to that from your perspective?
Yeah, I would say I've got an interesting relationship with time with my work. A lot of my pieces, like these three have taken, these two especially took me, I get a month and a half, 2 months each to finish. Way slow, and I would just get like a little bit done at a time and stare at them forever, which is kind of like an unusual process. Last month I did like a drawing challenge to do a drawing every day, which really kind of was like good preparation for doing this residency. I got like just in the habit of like getting things done fast, which has been a struggle for me for sure. And being able to spend like a lot of time here too was a major factor in getting this done so fast. So like yeah, for comparison, this took me like 2 months and this took me 2 weeks. But I've improved for sure in the last few months, especially in regards to like how fast I can work and being able to be in here more full time. Like I've been spending something like 6-hour days in here, which is like a long time for me to draw consecutively. So that made a big difference for it.
I really appreciate the craft. I wonder if you have any excitement for using artificial intelligence as a generative tool for exploring ideas, and then, you know, if you're a curator of the extreme ability of AI to create, but then you transfer what you know, your creation with AI into this detailed, crafted piece.
I think there probably are cool avenues to explore there. I personally am not a fan of the AI art. I think that like what you just said, using it as like an intermediary tool is probably the coolest application for it to me right now. I'm trying to get past like my like disgust for it because that's like my kind of initial reaction when I think about it, you know. But yeah, I feel like maybe over time I'll get more comfortable with it. But right now, I just like I don't want to look at it.
Piggyback off of that, it makes me think about, you at the beginning you spoke about surrealism and that challenge of that, the space between real and surreal, and like how do you, like what does that transition part look like? And I wonder, like there could be some useful teaching opportunities inside of AI, inside of how it's trying to stitch things together, or like even to study those transition points of application of real and surreal.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like it sometimes just unintentionally makes things really surreal in a like interesting way. I think I could kind of use that. That's a good point.
Keep piggybacking off of that. I was thinking about how a lot of AI stuff has an uncanny valley element that your art doesn't have to me. And yeah, I'm like curious about where that comes from. And now it's just getting philosophical, but like it's still.
Yeah, I think a lot of the uncanny valley is like slightly off proportions, you know, or like hands that look almost right but are like slightly wrong. And there's those things are littered throughout the AI picture that kind of like throw, I think, like subconscious things in your brain off a little bit. They're getting like a lot better really fast, but yeah, the AI is like really good at certain details that have like a huge database for, but it can't figure out like hands can show like multiple levels of fingers at different positions. And, like you can't figure that out, like how many fingers people have.
Can't grasp like how people eat spaghetti. It just doesn't know.
It's getting there, but yeah. I think it can be a cool tool though, like these two were saying. I think that's probably the best application for it to me. In terms of like using it for art, I think what really bothers me the most about AI is the idea of people's work being like given to a program without their permission and then like regurgitated and like broken into pieces and reused. It's like sad to me to think about. But I think over time it's going to get better hopefully, and there'll be legislation that prevents that from happening. So I think AI can be cool. Any other questions? Thank you guys for coming.